Cinque Terre, 5 towns on the picturesque Italian coast. Ground zero for Instagram selfies. And bucket list destination for wannabe tourists throughout the world. But in this video, I'm going to give you the truth about Cinque Terre, the good and the bad. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of YouTube videos that talk about this place and give glowing reviews. And it is a very neat place to visit, but you need to be aware of the realities. So let's jump right in. The first truth you should know about Cinque Terre has to do with the trains. You can only get here by taking a train. It's true, once you are here, you can hike from town to town. Even then, most of the time, you're still going to take the train from town to town, and that means waiting. Sometimes standing up and waiting for as much as a half hour or 45 minutes. The trains are plenty nice and they are air-conditioned, but they often run late. By the way, you've got to buy your ticket on an Italian kiosk, and they are always a pain in the ass. They don't work, they've got crazy menus, they don't often translate to English even though they say they do. Just be prepared. It's absolutely worth it to just buy a train pass once and not have to fuss around with the kiosks and with a ticket every single time you have to take a train. Another reality of Cinque Terre has to do with the crowds. There are people everywhere. This place is absolutely discovered. There may have been a time 20 years ago where many people didn't know about this place, but that is not the case anymore. The first time I came here was less than 10 years ago. It was busy then, but I'm surprised at how much more crowded it was this time around. Obviously, there's a few factors at play here. The season you visit is going to make a big difference, and the town which you visit as well. It seems like Vernazza was particularly crowded, and time of day can make a difference as well. But remember, these were just quaint little fishing villages until they were discovered by tourists a few decades ago. They're not built like Rome or Paris. It's not the Colosseum where there's thousands of people that can fit inside. So you're going to just have to get used to the crowds. Why is this place so much more crowded than it used to be? That's an interesting discussion. I think the internet clearly has something to do with it. People see this place on social media, they see and hear about it, and it is on everybody's bucket list, whereas before the internet, it's undiscovered. Another reason might be that the economy has been pretty good over the last 10 or 12 years. There's more people with expendable income that want to come here. It's easy to understand why people want to come here as well. And that's the next reality of this place. It is just as beautiful as you've imagined, as you've seen on social media. The place is gorgeous. Yes, you do have to put up with the crowds, but this is the Italian Riviera. The architecture, the colors, the buildings, the coastline, the food, the gelato, it's all amazing. Here's another truth about Cinque Terre. It's hot. In the summertime, it really gets warm. You're going to want to cool off. That might mean a gelato, and there are plenty of options for gelato. Of course, another way to cool off is to take a swim. 4 out of the 5 towns have direct access to the ocean. Unless you're in Cornelia, which is the middle town, that is not directly up on the sea. Swimming options are available everywhere else. The best beaches are in the northernmost town of Monterosso. One thing to just be aware of is maybe you want to change your clothes. There are limited places to do that. In fact, there aren't a whole lot of bathrooms that are publicly available. You can maybe find a restaurant, and there are some bathrooms up near the train station, but depending upon where you are, you may have difficulty finding a place to change after you go swimming. So just plan ahead. One reality when you're in a place like Cinque Terre is sometimes you need to spend a little extra money. You need to splurge a little bit to have a real unique experience. On this afternoon, we rented a boat and had a driver take us out for a couple of hours. We were able to experience Cinque Terre a little bit different, alone. We were able to go swimming by ourselves, and we saw these villages from a unique perspective and got some fantastic pictures along the way. It was really nice to hop in the boat and talked to our driver. He was a local. He gave us some insight and information about the different villages and talked a little bit about his family. And mostly it was great just to be on a boat, to jump in the water, to cool off, and to see the seaside from a different perspective. We all got a chance to go swimming. We all did some cliff jumping, and our driver took us around to all 5 of the villages. We got to see what they look like from the water. My only regret is that we did this a little bit too early in the day. If I could go back, I would have reserved time later in the evening so we could capture that golden hour, the afternoon and evening sun. The vivid colors of Cinque Terre get even more beautiful as you get closer to sunset. Speaking generally about Cinque Terre, some advice I would give, or maybe a recommendation: consider coming here in the off-season. April and October are your friends. Italy is wonderful during that time of the year. Yes, it's cooler, you may need a sweater, but the crowds are mostly gone, and you can have a unique experience wandering and exploring through Cinque Terre or any of the other towns in Italy, mostly by yourself, or at least without the throngs of tourists that are crowding out this place. Another recommendation I have is to come here with your spouse, but maybe reconsider coming here with a larger group, and that includes your kids. And I realize that's a funny recommendation as I'm showing videos of my whole family, but consider here in Cinque Terre, the transportation is difficult. You have to arrange where you're going to be, what towns you're going to spend time in. You're oftentimes waiting for a train, and you've got to coordinate with different schedules. Different people have different interests. It just lends itself to being a place that is more difficult with a larger group, even if that is a family. If you're here as a couple or maybe in a small group of 4, I think this place is a little bit easier. Altogether, we spent a few weeks in Italy as a family. And believe it or not, Cinque Terre was nobody's favorite destination. Everybody liked it, but in the end, we wish we had spent more time in other destinations such as Florence or the Dolomites, and perhaps a little less time in Cinque Terre. Now, don't let this dissuade you. If this is your bucket list destination, I think you're going to come here and have a great time. But you should know that there are some realities, some pros and cons to this place, and knowing about them beforehand is always helpful.